Everyone calls Luffy the captain, but what if the real backbone of the Straw Hat Pirates isn't their leader? It's Jinbe, the man who doesn't seek the spotlight, who doesn't crack jokes or cause chaos. But without him, the entire crew could fall apart. This is how Jinbe's quiet brilliance keeps the Straw Hats balanced, and why he may be the one ensuring they survive the final war. The Straw Hat crew is a collection of extremes, people defined not by balance, but by their contradictions. Luffy is boundless freedom. Zoro is unshakable resolve. Sanji is emotion disguised as arrogance. Nami is survival turned into ambition. Robin is trauma reborn as intellect. Usopp hides fear behind stories, while Frankie hides pain behind steel. Each one burns bright, wild, and untamed. Individually, they're fascinating. Together, they're a storm, a clash of wills and ideas that somehow forms one of the most unbreakable bonds in anime history. But ask yourself this: how does the storm hold together? How does a ship filled with egos, trauma, and unstoppable personalities not collapse under its own chaos? The answer lies not in their captain, but in their helmsman. Jinbei isn't the flashiest straw hat. He doesn't crack jokes like Brook or create inventions like Frankie. He doesn't have a bounty that screams monster trio. But what he does have is the kind of strength that doesn't make headlines. The strength to steady the crew when everything else is falling apart. Think back to Marineford, when the world burned and Luffy lost everything. When even the future Pirate King crumbled under grief. It was Jinbei who carried him, body and soul, through that pain. When Luffy screamed that he had nothing left to fight for, Jinbei reminded him of something simple but vital. You still have your crew. In that moment, Jinbei didn't just save Luffy's life, he saved the dream of the Straw Hats themselves. And that pattern continues. At Whole Cake Island, when chaos erupted, Jinbei didn't flinch. He faced down Big Mom, his former captain, not for pride, but for principle. He refused to let fear rule him. He refused to let Luffy's crew be swallowed by someone else's madness. Then, in Wano, we saw it again. When Luffy was beaten down by Kaido, Zoro and Sanji were wounded, and the battlefield descended into panic, Jinbei was the one who brought order. He moved like a man who's seen centuries of war, calm, deliberate, unshaken. He doesn't lead by shouting orders. He leads by example. When the seas rage, the helmsman doesn't panic. He adjusts the course. That's Jinbei. He's not the storm. He's the ocean itself, vast, deep, and capable of swallowing chaos whole. And that's what makes him the true backbone of the crew. Because while the others embody emotion, willpower, and dreams, Jinbei embodies balance. He's the bridge between the explosive spirit of the Straw Hats and the harsh reality of the seas they sail. When Luffy's passion becomes recklessness, Jinbei reins it in wisdom. When Zoro's pride risk alienates the crew, Jinbei reminds him of unity. When Sanji's compassion turns into self-destruction, Jinbei grounds him back in purpose. He is the anchor that allows the Straw Hats to chase their wildest dreams without capsizing. He is the calm within their storm, the unspoken strength that makes their chaos beautiful. To understand Jinbei's brilliance, the quiet leadership that keeps the Straw Hats afloat, we have to return to where it all began, the depths of the ocean. Long before he stood beside Luffy, Jinbei lived in a world defined by oppression, rage, and impossible hope. He was born in the Fishman district, a place the surface world labeled dangerous, but in truth, it was a prison built by discrimination. Humans looked down on fishmen, calling them monsters, treating them as tools, and so generations after generation, that hatred festered below the sea. It was in that world that Jinbei learned two conflicting lessons, one from Fisher Tiger and one from Queen Otohime. Fisher Tiger, the revolutionary who climbed the red line itself to free slaves from Marie-Joie, taught Jinbei pride and defiance, that no man, no god, and no world government had the right to shackle another. But Otohime taught him something far harder, forgiveness, that even in a world that spits on you, peace is worth fighting for. Imagine living between those two extremes, rage and compassion, and trying to reconcile them. That's Jinbei's entire life. He didn't just learn how to fight, he learned when not to fight. He didn't just learn to lead, he learned how to listen. That's what made him different from Arlong, Hody, and every other fishman consumed by bitterness. When Fisher Tiger died, Jinbe could have followed the same path of revenge, but instead he took a harder route, the one of restraint. He joined the Sun Pirates, not to dominate, but to protect, and in time he became their captain, not because he sought power, but because he was the only one who could balance power with reason. And when he joined the Seven Warlord system, the world called him a traitor. But in truth, Jinbe was playing the long game, using this position not for glory, but for peacekeeping. He stood between pirates and marines, trying to stop bloodshed before it began. He was the bridge between two worlds that refused to see each other's humanity. That's the kind of man Jinbe is, the kind who bears the weight of others' hatred if it means protecting the few who still have hope. And that brings us to why he fits perfectly with the Straw Hats. Every crew member has a dream, but Jinbe's dream isn't about himself. It's about harmony. He doesn't seek treasure, fame, or vengeance. He seeks a world where humans and fishmen can sail the same seas without fear. In a story filled with characters chasing the impossible, Jinbe is the one who reminds us that true strength isn't about power, it's about peace. So when Luffy invited him to join the crew, it wasn't just another allied gang, it was the completion of something deeper. The Straw Hats gained not just a helmsman, but a philosopher of balance. A man who understands that freedom without discipline is chaos, and discipline without freedom is tyranny. That's the lesson Jinbe carries from the deep, one that will matter more than ever when the seas themselves start to change in the final saga. Psychologists often say that real leaders aren't the loudest voices in the room. They're the ones who bring calm when everyone else is falling apart. That's exactly what Jinbe represents. His strength isn't just physical, it's emotional intelligence in its purest form. He embodies what experts call servant leadership, the idea that true leaders serve their people first. When Luffy charges ahead fueled by passion, Jinbe is the anchor that keeps him from drifting too far. When Zoro and Sanji clash, Jinbe steadies the tension without ever raising his voice. In trauma psychology, this kind of calm isn't natural, it's earned. It's the product of years spent surviving chaos and learning not to let it define you. Jinbe's ability to remain grounded, even when the world burns, isn't just character writing, it's emotional mastery. And that's why he's so vital to the crew. While everyone else represents freedom, ambition, or loyalty, Jinbe represents stability. When he's the quiet heartbeat of the Straw Hats, the proof that sometimes the strongest person isn't the one who fights hardest, but the one who refuses to let the storm control him. Jinbe's brilliance has never been about standing in the spotlight. It's about holding everything together when the world threatens to fall apart. To truly understand his importance, you have to look beyond his calm demeanor and see what he represents in the grand design of One Piece. Because Jinbe isn't just another Straw Hat. He's the bridge between every world Luffy's dream is trying to unite. From the moment we met him, Jinbe has been a man of balance between sea and surface, duty and freedom, power and peace. And in a world literally divided by oceans and walls, balance might be the rarest form of power there is. Let's rewind for a moment. Jinbe was born into a world that taught him to hate. Fishmen were enslaved, their homes destroyed, their worth measured by bloodlines. And yet, instead of letting that hatred consume him, Jinbe did something extraordinary. He listened. He learned from Fisher Tiger, a man who rejected both human cruelty and revenge. He followed Queen Otohime, who preached coexistence even when her people mocked her for it. Jinbe absorbed those conflicting ideas and carried them like an anchor through every era he lived through, from the age of Arlong to the age of Luffy. Every decision he's made since then has been guided by that balance. When he became a warlord, it wasn't just for fame or protection. It was to shield Fishman Island from human aggression. When he allied with Big Mom, it was out of necessity, not loyalty. And when he left her to stand beside Luffy, it wasn't rebellion, it was belief. Jinbe has always chosen the harder path, the one that unites, not divides. And that what makes his addition to the Straw Hat so profound, because Luffy doesn't just need warriors, he needs bridges. People who understand what it means to connect worlds that have been at odds for centuries. Robin connects the past, Nami connects the seas, Frankie connects technology, and Jinbe connects hearts. His loyalty is never blind. It's informed, deliberate, earned. And when Luffy offered him a place in the crew back at Fishman Island, Jinbe didn't rush to accept. He waited. He watched. He wanted to see if Luffy's dream was real. not just for humans, but for everyone. And when he finally joined doing Whole Cake Island, it was more than just a new crew member, it was a statement. Jinbe's allegiance meant that the dream of the fishman was no longer confined to the depths. It had reached the surface. In the final saga, that meaning becomes even clearer. The red line isn't just a wall of land, it's a symbol of separation. It divides the oceans, the races, and even history itself. And if Luffy's destiny is to tear that wall down, Jinbe might be the key to making sure what follows isn't chaos, but unity. He's the one who understands what will happen when those barriers fall. The tension between surface dwellers and sea folk. The resentment that the centuries of oppression leave behind. Jinbe's presence ensures that when freedom finally comes, it doesn't destroy what it's meant to save. He's the protector of the balance that dawn will bring. Oda has quietly built this symbolism into Jinbe from the start. His very name, Jinbe, derived from Jinbe Salmon, the whale shark, represents harmony. Whale sharks are gentle giants, often called the peaceful kings of the sea. They swim along other species, neither predator nor prey. Just like Jinbe himself, who moves between worlds with calm strength, commanding respect without demanding it. And when you look closer, you start to realize something deeper. Jinbe embodies the will of the sea itself. If Luffy represents the sun that rises, the freedom that burns away oppression, then Jinbe is the tide that carries that light across the world. The two complete each other. One leads the charge, the other ensures it reaches everyone. It's no coincidence that Fishman Island was prophesied to see the dawn of the new world. Nor is it a coincidence that Jinbe, a man of the sea, joined the Sun Pirates. Then the Straw Hats, a crew destined to bring the dawn. He is the thread that connects the sun and the sea, the very forces that have been separated since the void century. So when the final war begins, when ancient weapons resurface, when kingdoms crumble and the seas themselves rise, remember that the man at the helm isn't just navigating the ocean, he's navigating destiny. Jinbe's dream isn't about conquering the surface or escaping the deep. It's about a world where neither needs to fear the other. And when that dream finally comes true, when the red line falls and every ocean becomes one, Jinbe's hand will be there, steady on the wheel, guiding us all into the dawn. If we look ahead to the final saga, Jinbe's influence might not come from raw power, but from the balance he brings. Think about what's coming, a war that will pull every corner of the world into chaos. The Marines, the world government, the Revolutionary Army, the Yonko, and the people caught in between. It's going to be a storm like no other. And in the middle of the storm stands the Straw Hat crew, the only group capable of uniting enemies under a single flag. But unity doesn't happen through charisma alone. It happens through trust, through stability, through someone who can anchor a dream when everything around it starts to collapse. That's Jinbe. In moments of panic, he's calm. When chaos breaks loose, he thinks before he strikes. And more importantly, he listens. That's rare in a world full of loud captains, arrogant kings, and reckless ambitions. Jinbe's strength comes from understanding others, even when they've wronged him. That empathy might be exactly what turns battlefields into alliances. Imagine the coming war. Fishmen rising from the deep to aid their surface allies. Revolutionary forces coordinate with pirates who once hated them. Ancient weapons threatening to erase it all. Amid that scale of destruction, it's not Luffy's fist that will save the world. It's the values that people like Jinbe have fought for their entire lives. Because Jinbe represents the new kind of power in One Piece. The power to connect people. The same way Luffy makes friends of enemies, Jinbe makes peace possible between entire races. He is the bridge that allows Luffy's dream to reach beyond adventure to become the foundation for a new world. Fishman Island already hinted at this. Remember the Sea King's prophecy? That someone would one day guide the world into a new era, uniting those who dwell beneath the waves and those above. Maybe it wasn't just about Poseidon. Maybe it was about the ideas Jinbe embodies. So when the red line finally falls, when the seas truly become one, it won't just be a victory for the Straw Hats. It'll be the moment Jinbe's life purpose is fulfilled. A world where its people no longer need to hide, where the ocean is no longer divided by hate or hierarchy. A world where everyone from the deepest trench to the highest sky island sails under the same sun. And that's why Jinbe's role goes beyond being the helmsman. He's the heart of the bridge the world has been trying to build for centuries. When Luffy becomes Pirate King, Jinbe won't just have helped him steer there. He'll have helped the world find its course again. Jinbe's story reminds us that true strength isn't loud. It doesn't always come from the flashiest attacks or the biggest moments. Real strength, the kind that lasts, comes from understanding, patience, and conviction. Every Straw Hat represents a different side of freedom. Luffy embodies pure willpower, Zoro shows discipline, Nami reflects ambition born from survival, but Jinbe represents wisdom. The wisdom to choose peace even after seeing war. The wisdom to guide others instead of simply leading them. That's what makes him the crew's quiet cornerstone. When Luffy's dream burns too bright, Jinbe grounds it. When the world seems too broken to fix, he reminds everyone that peace isn't a fantasy. It's a choice made again and again. And through that, he teaches us something powerful. That you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to change the world. Sometimes you just have to be the one who keeps steering forward when everyone else loses sight of the horizon. It's easy to overlook the character like Jinbe because he doesn't chase glory. He's not fighting for revenge or recognition or power. He's fighting for understanding, something far more difficult and far more essential. And that's why he's not just a member of the crew, he's their foundation. When the seas finally unite, when every wall between people and oceans come down, Jinbe's legacy will be clear. He was the one who kept the dream alive, even when the world didn't believe in it. And maybe that's the greatest brilliance of all. That's the man who came from the deepest depths, became the one who helped the world rise to the surface. If you believe Jinbe's quiet strength is what truly holds the crew together, drop a wave in the comments and let me know what moment made you respect him the most. And if you enjoyed deep diving into the hidden brilliance behind the Straw Hats, make sure to like, subscribe, and keep sailing with us on the Grand Line Report, where every story reveals something bigger beneath the waves.